Earlier today, Cyberpunk 2077 got a new update. This is patch 2.02, being about 15 gigabytes on PC and much larger at 34 gigabytes on consoles. And some people on consoles even had to download a secondary 22 gigabyte update for Phantom Liberty. This update changed a bunch about the game. Tons of quest progression and also quest skipping issues were fixed with this one, but even beyond that, we actually got some balance changes to weapons as well as a secret change or two that is definitely pretty interesting. But hey, what about updating your own life? Are you tired of spending hours of your free time cooking instead of just eating and gaming? Well, today I'm going to help you fix that with today's video sponsor, Factor. With Factor, you'll get a giant box of meals delivered right to your door. No more having to brave the aisles of grocery stores or trying to figure out what this thing is. And what made me fall in love with Factor is my own laziness. With Factor, all you need is a microwave and a fork. A short 2 minutes later, your food will be ready. You don't even have to worry about dishes. And Factor meals actually taste good because they're never frozen, as well as there's over 27 meal options each week, so there's always something for everyone. And Factor will help you hit those fitness goals as well. No more eating crappy fast food. Factor offers chef quality meals that are actually nutritious. But I know for some of you, 2 minutes is actually a long time. Thankfully, Factor has you covered with some quick add-on options like shakes and smoothies. And since you watch this, I'm gonna hook you up. Use my link or go to go.factor75.com and use code POGJUICEOCT50 for 50% off your first box. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code with your phone. But one of the biggest changes to come with this update is the skill progression bonuses were finally fixed, at least mostly. With patch 2.0, we get this full-fledged new skill tree, giving you different bonuses when you reach certain milestones, except multiple of these were broken and actually broken in different ways. Most of these were broken with patch 2.01. After that update came out and you loaded a save with that update, many of these skill progression bonuses would just not work. Like here, as I grapple this enemy, I should be cloaked, but I am not. Thankfully, today's update did fix that for most of these. So having optical camo kick in from the Headhunter skill is back, as well as no weapon sway while I'm crouched, again thanks to Headhunter. Unfortunately, it still seems like not everything on this is working. There is a separate issue that's been around since the release of patch 2.0 where the top tier net running skill just has never really worked. What this one will do is allow you to quick hack enemies through cover while you have overclock mode active. It seems like this may be working. It's kind of hard to tell what exactly they're using or determining as cover in Cyberpunk. Like, you still can't quick hack enemies through walls, but occasionally through some thin materials or barricades I can quick hack certain enemies. But the skill was supposed to have the secondary effect of revealing enemies around you in a 10-meter radius right after you activate overclock mode, and it doesn't seem like that works at all. I turn on overclock mode here, but none of the enemies around me get any new indications on them. And it also seems like the level 55 solo skill is not working correctly either. So it definitely seems like although the vast majority of skills are back to working, some still have problems. They also fixed those time limits on vehicle contracts if you have Phantom Liberty. This was honestly a hilarious bug when doing some of the new vehicle contracts as a part of Phantom Liberty. Specifically when doing the slowest cars, you would have this extremely short timer, making it nearly impossible to get to the car to the destination in that amount of time. Thankfully, with this update was resolved, and even with some of my mediocre driving, I was able to return this car with over 30 seconds to spare. The hilarious part of this bug being the cause. Vehicle timers are dictated by speed, so the game would check, is this car normal speed, fast speed, or if both of those checks failed, it would assume it was very fast and give you a super short timer. The issue being that there were also a fourth category with cars with bad speed. So the game was checking if bad speed cars had normal speed or fast speed, and since it didn't have either of those, it was just assuming you were driving a very fast car, despite the fact that you were oftentimes actually driving one of the slowest cars in the game. So a pretty funny bug that is thankfully now gone. It also seems like a secret change came with this one in how fast you're able to drive up to the Dogtown gate, at least from the interior section. It definitely feels like you can roll in much quicker than you could previously. There's one patch note that was super interesting with rebalance the stats of some weapons based on player feedback. I searched a ton and I have no idea what weapons this applies to. I checked many weapons from Phantom Liberty specifically, or even just some from the vanilla game, and could not find any notable stat changes to them. So if you found some rebalanced weapons, let me know in the comments down below, as there was at least one actually mentioned in the patch notes, that being the Malorian Arms, otherwise known as Johnny's pistol, which did get buffed with this update. They made it so the recoil is easier to handle, especially if you're at low stamina, and the damage per shot was increased. Unfortunately, the previous special ability of piercing through walls is still gone. That was removed with patch 2.0 and has not been brought back, but the other buffs applied to the weapon are definitely quite handy. On the release of patch 2.0, Johnny's pistol was honestly almost worse than even just a random tier 5 pistol, so thankfully with these more recent buffs it definitely is a lot stronger, and specifically this alternate melee bash fire attack is better than ever. You could really take down enemies quickly now with this. The bait quick hack was also rebalanced. If you're standing outside of a quest area, you can no longer bait enemies to you so that they leave the quest area. Unfortunately, it seems like this was actually leading to some enemies just no longer entering into combat as you entered into the quest area, or sometimes they would just bug out completely. And now the way things work is you basically need to stand inside of the quest area and then you could bait enemies to you. If you're somebody who is relying on this quick hack a lot, this will honestly be a pretty huge change to how you're using it. And what is probably the funniest of all of the changes, you can no longer pay a homeless man to get rid of your wanted level. So I actually did know about this feature, and I honestly was about to cover it in an upcoming video. Get subscribed for that one. But not too long ago, there was a Reddit post highlighting it, where basically if you get wanted, you could just go up to one of the homeless people in the game, pay them their 5 eddy fee, and it would remove your entire wanted level. This was pretty clearly a bug. It basically seems like it was some kind of game state switch. And frankly, it was kind of harmless because you could also just get rid of your wanted level at any time by walking into a job area or even into a vendor. But with the recent update, CDPR fixed this, and funny enough, the way they fixed it is you can no longer donate to the homeless man while combat is active. A bunch of the weirdness around the Phantom Liberty quick start option was fixed. If you owned Phantom Liberty when starting a new game, you could jump to the point in the story where you can actually play the new quests. But for some reason, when doing this, there definitely were some oddities, at least before this patch. Previously, none of the completed quests or the quests that you should have completed would be visible in your journal, but now they are. But more importantly, you can now actually get Jackie and Dex's unique weapons. Originally, if you did this quick start method, Dexter's body would just be nowhere to be found, even though you should have completed his entire questline and he should be found here. And since his body wasn't there, you could never find his unique weapon. The same exact thing applied to Jackie's weapons. But with patch 2.02, this has been restored, so you can get Dexter's unique pistol in the landfill and Jackie's unique pistols from the bar that his funeral is held at. And with 2.0, Jackie's pistols got this really fun pirate build associated with them. You get 2 of these as you loot them, and each headshot you land with one will restore 1 ammo. So you can basically swap in between the 2 pistols, never having to reload as long as you can land some headshots. As well as this patch note is super misleading. During Firestarter, it will now be possible to pick up the Bald Eagle weapon after siding with Songbird. So without getting into spoilers, because this is fairly late into Phantom Liberty, if you do choose to side with Songbird, after the chaos unfolds, you can double back into this second door into this lounge area and you can loot both Wild Dog and Bald Eagle. I'm sure a lot of people missed this, and actually as of patch 2.01, this was blocked for some reason. It seems like you could always do this on release, but then 2.01 came out, the door was shut and you couldn't access this room. But now once again with patch 2.02, you can access the room and get each of these unique items again. As well as Sasquatch's hammer will now actually appear at the new black market vendor in Dogtown, which is just great. I honestly think all of the iconic weapons should appear here after you finish the quests associated with them, but for some reason there's a bunch that don't. But unfortunately with patch 2.02, you're going to have less iconics. They made it so after crafting an iconic weapon, the crafting recipe will just delete itself. So this actually reverts things to how they were previously, where you could only really have 1 or 2 iconic weapons at a time and not more than that. And since I know many of you are wondering, unfortunately the bug with your apartment wall not displaying all of the iconic weapons has not been fixed with this patch. They fixed the bug where a bunch of your cyberware would get downgraded to tier 1. This was seemingly some kind of error or issue with patch 2.01. Some cyberware was wrongfully getting upgraded to tier 5 with patch 2.0, so they fixed that with patch 2.01, but then a bunch of cyberware somehow got downgraded to tier 1 incorrectly. It should have been a higher tier. Thankfully, it seems like that was reverted, so you may notice a bunch of your older cyberware, if you are using an existing character, will now be higher tier than it was previously. A really nice feature for a lot of players is they introduced a mechanism for the detection of mismatch or corrupted scripts which are caused by outdated mods or file corruption. So now when trying to launch the game, if it typically would just crash or error out, it'll provide some instructions as to what's going on and how you could fix this, like clearing out old mods or just doing a fresh install. This is a super common problem. An update drops, it breaks a bunch of mods, and yes, this update also broke a bunch of mods, although thankfully a bunch of them are already updated even as I film this, but mods would break and in turn you wouldn't be able to launch the game. People would think the update broke their game, not realizing realizing that no, in reality it was because you had mods and those mods are breaking the game. So now thankfully everything will just be a lot more clear and you'll be able to recognize that the mods are the issue and not the update itself. If you're somebody playing the game in German, simplified Chinese, or Japanese, the voiceover quality for those were remastered, as well as this update did come with a variety of bug fixes. The junk dupe exploit was addressed. This is one of the primary money-making exploits available, but it is going to be gone now, as well as some of the easier to get skill shards in the early game have now become more expensive. One bug fix that'll definitely be a bother for some of you is they fixed the data recycler perk refunding too much RAM, and really the core issue of refunding RAM at full cost. This video from Z-Karma was honestly one of the best sources for abusing net running mechanics, including this one, as basically what was going on here was you could upload quick hacks at a discount, like it being 50% off, but then get the full cost refunded thanks to the data recycler perk. This would refund 80% of the RAM value of a quick hack if it was still in the queue and an enemy died, so if they basically died before it got uploaded. And effectively, by abusing some synergies, you could get near unlimited RAM thanks to this, because you would upload at a discount but then get the full refund. Unfortunately, this was removed, so now you just have to deal with typical RAM management. Several changes were made to how save games and just saving in general works to avoid more corrupted saves in the future. Just recently, there was a very prevalent problem for PlayStation users where saves were corrupting, but now saves won't be overwritten before it is confirmed that the save data is valid and not corrupted, as well as cross progression will no longer upload save files that are larger than the max file size to avoid any issues there. As a part of this, a ton of quest progression issues were fixed. They implemented dozens of fixes here for both Phantom Liberty and vanilla quests, including the absolutely imperative fix of the flatlining during the Path of Glory ending. That's no longer going to happen. You can successfully beat the game now. Overall, I thought this was a super solid patch for Cyberpunk 2077. The quest fixes in particular are a great addition to the game, and I honestly felt most of the balance or quality of life changes are nice to good. The iconic crafting change is a bit frustrating, but thankfully beyond that, there wasn't much in the way of nerfs. It does seem like more work needs to be done to get this overclock skill working, as well as there are definitely some things that need to be addressed that weren't addressed with this update that are lingering problems. Cyberware capacity shards stopped showing up after a certain point for many players, and in some users' games, they simply cannot upgrade items to their max rank at tier 5++. As well as one of the expected changes that they actually mentioned earlier this week, the possibility to mark vehicles as favorites in the call vehicle menu, doesn't seem to have made it into this patch, so it'll likely come in patch 2.03, but if you're looking for that one and curious as to why it's not here, it just doesn't seem like it shipped out today. Overall, I think CDPR is doing a phenomenal job of not only releasing regular updates to address some of these issues, but also just having really great communication. We're getting patches almost every 2 weeks, and a few days beforehand getting a preview of some of the major fixes that are coming. With that said, that's the latest update to Cyberpunk 2077. If you're interested in more content, check out this video where I go over a bunch of mods to vastly improve your game.